Hi everyone, David A. Cox here with PCClassesOnline.com, and in this class I'm going to be teaching all of you Mac owners out there how you can keep your Mac clean. Now, one of the most common questions that I receive from the people that I work with, and keep in mind, beyond PC Classes Online, I also have a small business that I run, and I work one-on-one with individuals, couples, some celebrities, some politicians, businesses, both large and small. One of the most common questions I receive from them is, what software do I need to purchase to keep my Mac secure and just generally clean? The answer is you don't need anything. In fact, I'm actually going to go one step further than that. If you have purchased a piece of software that claims to keep your Mac clean or remove viruses, etc., get rid of it. Now that's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it, because I have received nasty letters from some of these companies, and that is my opinion. That's what I tell my clients when I work with them, and keep in mind, I built my reputation on giving out good advice. So let me give you the reason, generally speaking, why you don't need them. So sometimes when I'm teaching a topic, especially if it can be a little bit complex, I like to use metaphors as a method of making it a little bit easier to understand. So the metaphor that I've come up with to explain it is, imagine if you're a parent that you have two kids, and one kid you send to just the worst school in the world and the other to the cleanest prep school in the nation. Okay? Well, when the kid who went to the bad school goes off to college, mom and dad are going to probably have to constantly clean the dorm room. And you can imagine, mom and dad come, they clean the dorm room, and then what happens? It goes right back to the way it was. That's basically Windows for you. The Windows operating system, because of the way that it is structured, tends to have that kind of a problem. That's why people need all of those little utilities to keep Windows clean and working as well as it can. Whereas on the Mac side, the kid who went to the prep school has been taught to be a clean person. It's not an issue. The kid just takes care of itself, and it's easy. So the different tricks that I'm going to show you today are not necessary for everyone out there. You can use them if you like. It's not a bad idea to do some of these tricks maybe once a year, especially if you start to run out of hard drive space. A lot of these tricks are going to help you. So I hope you enjoy this video and pass it on to your friends. Let's get started. Here's the class. Alright everyone, here we go. So I'm just going to throw at you a ton of different little tips and tricks to keep your Mac running its best and hopefully make sure that it lasts a really long time. By the way, on the topic of keeping your Mac around, a lot of people ask me, when should I expect my Mac to fail? When should I expect to have to buy a new one? If you want to go purely based on statistics, this is from what I found in working with people. The laptops typically don't last as long just because they have a lot more wear and tear. But the laptops, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, those tend to last right around 4 to 7 years. Lately, now that everything's now solid state, I'm thinking probably further towards the end part of that, maybe towards the 7-year mark. On the iMacs, those are usually 7 to 10 years. Now, it's not to say that you're not necessarily going to need a repair at some point in time, but just wanted to give you kind of a general expectation of around how long the average Mac lasts before the owner moves on to a new one. So the first tip that I'm going to give you today is fairly basic. A lot of people already do this, which is great, but not everyone, which is to just remember to run software update, which you can access by going to the Apple icon at the top left corner of the screen and go to software update. This just checks for the latest version of the software that's installed in your computer. This does not include third-party software that you downloaded off the internet, but for any apps that you've downloaded through the App Store, or the basic programs, the iLife suite that comes with the Mac, which includes iPhoto, iMovie, etc. All of those are included in this, and you just want to make sure that all of the updates have, in fact, run, and they are up to date. Another tip I want to give you, just a good thing to know in general, is that it is a good idea to restart or shut down your computer once a month. A lot of laptop owners these days just let their computers sleep when they're not using it. That's totally fine. That's actually what I do. But it is still a good idea to restart or shut down once a month. The reason being, there are certain updates that will not run unless the computer restarts or shuts down. Also, there are certain cache files, if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it, that won't clear out unless you do that. So about once a month, good idea to do that. Now, the next trick I'm going to give you is to get rid of old apps that you no longer have a use for. Now, when you install a program into a Mac, it goes far beyond, for the most part, it goes far beyond just what you see here in the apps folder. Okay, there are other little hidden files scattered throughout the computer, specifically in the libraries folder, which is a little bit hidden, that a lot of people don't know how to get to or how to remove. So one easy way to get around it is to use this little app right here called App Cleaner. It's a free download. I will put a link to where you can get it in the description of this video, but it's a really easy way to just kind of keep that, generally speaking, pretty clean. There is one exception to the rule, and I've got to watch my language on this one for legal reasons. If you have installed a piece of software called Mac Keeper, it is in my own personal opinion, and this is what I tell my clients, that you uninstall it, that you get rid of it. The tricky thing is that Mac Keeper can hide files in somewhere between 10 to 20 different locations in the Mac. And even if you use App Cleaner, it's not necessarily going to get all of them. So if you do have that piece of software, and if you decide to follow my piece of advice and remove it, I would very strongly recommend that you have that done by a professional, whether someone at the Apple Store or if you have someone who's sort of your local version of what I do where I live, where I just kind of work one-on-one with clients. Just get someone who knows what they're doing, who knows where to look for all of those files, and make sure that they get fully cleaned out. The next trick I would like to give you is to use Disk Utility. Now, the easiest way to get to Disk Utility is to simply go to the little spyglass icon, that's referred to actually as Spotlight, at the top right corner of your screen, and just type in the word disk, D-I-S-K. Should be number 1, and hit enter. So this is where you would go to attempt to repair the hard drive if it's an issue that has to do with permissions files. Also, this is a good way to get kind of a heads up if your hard drive is having some issues. Now, in the interest of giving out good information, one of the most common repairs is hard drive failure. It happens on all computers. It's not a Mac thing. It's not a PC thing. It's a machinery thing. Hard drives all fail. Even if they're solid state, they all fail. However, the older hard drives typically last right around 4 years or so, 3 to 4 years. And if you notice that on your Mac you get that little spinning pinwheel icon, which is less than affectionately known as the spinning pinwheel of death. Such a fuzzy name, isn't it? If you get that a lot, that can be a sign of early stage hard drive failure. If you are getting that, please make sure you watch the video that we produced months ago on Time Machine, back up all of your data, and then bring it to a professional, because if a piece of hardware is failing, nothing that I can show you in this video is going to help solve it. So just want to make sure that I addressed that. So one little trick that you can use in Disk Utility, first thing you're going to do is click on where it says Macintosh HD. First step is click Verify Disk. Now, depending on how old your computer is, what its state is, that could take a little bit of time, it could take a while. So first you're going to click Verify. When it's done, it's going to click Repair. If you get red error messages, there could be a severe problem. That's where you can, in fact, find out that the hard drive is about to fail. Also, many times with this, you may find that there's a corrupted OS file. That would be another common problem when people have problems, which is not often. So that's something to do. If you get a OS corrupted file, it's, again, the kind of thing you want to bring it to a professional, make sure it's done correctly. The next thing you can do is click Verify Disk Permissions. When that's run, hit Repair Disk Permissions. This is not the same thing as, and of course I'm going to blank on the term, the different tools that people use on PCs. Mac is not like a PC, and that's something that I have a lot of trouble explaining to people who are brand new to Mac. It's a completely different beast. The operating system itself is worlds different.
Sometimes I use metaphors when I teach. I'm going to give you one of them right now. Imagine you're a parent, and imagine you have two different kids. And one kid is sent to the absolute worst school in the world, and the other is sent to the finest of the finest prep schools. Well, the kid who goes to the prep school, when they get to college, mom and dad are not going to have to clean that kid's dorm room. That kid has been taught to be clean. Whereas the one who went to the less than good school, it's probably going to be a nightmare. Mom and dad are going to come with a vacuum when they come to visit just because they know what's going to be there. That's Windows, by the way. So in general, you can do this. It's not going to do a heck of a lot, but it's still a good idea to do it every once in a while. I say if you run these utilities maybe every 6 months or so, you'll be in great shape. Next little tool that I'm going to show you has to do with a couple of different files that you're going to want to be kind of on the lookout for. So when you're clicked on the desktop, you know how it says Finder up here at the top? Well, we're going to go here to where it says Go. And what you're going to do is on your keyboard, you're going to hold down the Option key. And when you do, that is when you can get to the library files on the Mac. Watch this. If I let go, it's hidden. If you hold the Option key, it appears. So go into the library files. I'm going to give you a couple of different little locations in here to just be kind of on the lookout for. If you're running low on hard drive space, some of these are going to definitely help you out. So the first one I want to introduce you to is we're going to go here into Application Support. Double click. Scroll down. Where are we going here? Scroll down towards the bottom. And we're going to look for a folder here called Sync Services. Okay. Now, one thing you can do is if you ever want to get info on a file, folder rather, sorry, or a file, if you want to see how much space is being taken up from the contents of that folder, if you click on it so that it's highlighted, a little trick I'll give you is if you hold the Command key and tap the letter I as in info, you get info. Keep in mind, this computer is used for demo purposes, so there's not a lot on here. But if you go in and you see that there's a ton of stuff in Sync Services, just go in here and delete the contents. Don't delete the folder itself, just the contents. Next location I want to show you, I'm going back to the main library folder, is we're going to scroll down to iTunes. Where is it here? iTunes. So within iTunes, you can go through here. There can be a lot of files that are old. Where was the one? The other day I actually went in on my computer and I found that there was an old restore file from my iPad. It was like a 2 gigabyte file. You can trash that. The little files here, don't worry about. Just if you see anything that's huge. For this kind of folder, it's easier to go into List View up here. That way you can actually see how much space these are taking up. But, 12 kilobytes is nothing. Document isn't even that big. But if you see something that's a couple gigabytes, at that point you can probably trash it. Going back. Now the next location I want to show you, I can't actually show you because this is a demo computer, but I'm going to talk you through it, is going to more affect any of you out there who have an iPhone. Potentially an iPad, but more iPhones. A lot of people, when they send iMessages, which is sort of like a text message, but it's free because it's going through Apple's service, not the cell companies. Those messages take up a lot of space because when you think about it, you start a conversation on an iMessage, you don't really delete it. It's not like an email. You just stop talking to them. And then when you start talking to them again, your old conversation comes back. Those can add up over time, especially if you're the kind of person, and God knows I have a few friends who are very guilty of this, if you send a lot of pictures or video files. So if you want, you can go through iMessages, and if you do have a lot, just go through each message and clear it out. I wish there was a way, and Apple, if you're listening, please make there a way to do select all so you can just delete all of the messages at once. Right now you can't. Right now you have to do it one by one. But for those of you on an iPhone, if you're running low on space, that's the first place I tell people to go and look. Just delete all of your old iMessages and text messages. You'll be shocked how much space you get back. The next tip I'm going to give you isn't really about making your Mac run faster or cleaning. It's about making it run better. And there's a little utility. It's free. Once again, I will put the link in the description of the video, but it's right here. It's called Time Machine Editor. And if you are on a Mac and you have one of the time machines where it's plugged into the Mac, or if it's going wirelessly, if you have the time capsule, which is a wireless device, it can really slow down what you're doing. If you're trying to get work done, especially if it's work that involves a lot of processing power and your computer's trying to back up in the background. What Time Machine Editor does is it overrides the schedule. So you can tell the computer, you know what, don't back up while I'm at work, back up at 2 in the morning. And then it'll do that. It'll bypass it when you're working on it, and then at 2 in the morning, it'll do a backup for you. That's just one example. But I have a lot of friends who like using that. They can't have their computer be slow while they're working on it. And trust me, I agree with that. Next one, we're going to talk about a couple things regarding iPhoto. So let's go into that real quick. One of the things I like to remind people, not everyone remembers this, but when you go into iPhoto and you delete something, a lot of people forget iPhoto has its own trash. It doesn't go into this trash can on your dock. When you delete a photo, it goes right here, the left-hand side of iPhoto. So it's a good idea periodically to go into the trash here and hit the little empty trash button that you see here at the top right-hand corner. Just easy way to get back some extra space. When you're done with that, though, then it's a good idea to empty the trash on the Mac. I also, while I'm here, I'm going to skip order in my notes that I have here. I'm going to give you another trick having to do with iPhoto. A lot of people out there have issues with duplicates, and you can get duplicates in many different ways, but I want to give you a utility to help resolve it. Now, we have actually taught a class on this in the past. It's in the video library on PCClassesOnline.com. This is a paid application for full disclosure. It's, I think, around, I want to say $28, $29, but it's called iPhoto Library Manager. And so basically what this little gadget does is it will look for all the different duplicates in iPhoto, and it'll just make one copy. It'll auto-delete the others. One of my little stories that I tell people about this application, where this was just a lifesaver, I mentioned I do work with a couple of different celebrities. I was working with a guy who's the owner of an NFL team. And between he and his wife, they had something like 5 or 6 computers and over 50,000 photos spread out between all the computers, and all the libraries were different. Using just iPhoto Library Manager, I had all the different computers open at the same time, was able to go into all of them, because you can see here you can add a library, and I merged all of the libraries into one, removed all the duplicates. This, if I didn't have this utility, this would have been weeks of work. Can you imagine how long it takes to go through 50,000 photos and try to figure out if there's a duplicate? So if you have that kind of an issue, this little app can be a lifesaver. Company that makes this is called Fat Cat Software. You do not get it through the App Store. You get it directly through the website, which is fatcatsoftware.com. And don't worry, it is secure. I chatted with the company a few times. They're good people. And as far as all the different, there's other programs out there that claim to, remove duplicates. I'm not saying that the others don't do it, but these guys do a really, really good job. So that is that. Next location I want to tell you about is the Downloads folder. Many, many people are guilty of this. In your Downloads folder, your default location when you get something from the web, when you get it from email. And one of the most common kinds of files that can take up a lot of space on your computer are old DMG files. Those are typically the kind of files that would install software. So for example, I've taught VLC, a very useful little utility on the Mac for playing videos. But when you get the software, when you downloaded it off the internet, it comes as a DMG file. Well, once you've installed it, you don't need the install file anymore. You can trash it. So go into Downloads, look for any of those old DMG files, and trash them. By the way, little tip for you. If you ever have something that you just need to send it straight to the trash, instead of having to drag it and drop it there, I'm going to give you the hotkey in case you didn't know it. If you ever have a file, you want to send it straight to the trash, Command Delete. Whoosh, sends it straight to the trash. Next one is actually a big one. We're going to go here into the Home folder. So look on the left-hand side when you're in Finder. look for the little house icon. That's your home folder. And look for the folder called Music. Inside Music, there is iTunes. Now, you won't see it in this one because, once again, this is a computer I use for teaching only. But inside the iTunes folder, you should see a folder called Mobile Applications. Mobile Applications, that would be the file version of the different apps that are on your iPhone or iPad. You can trash them because it's going to also include apps that you've deleted, that you no longer use. And after all, the most important place for all of these apps is that they're on your device. You don't really need them on your computer. It's kind of silly that they're even there in the first place. But they end up there, and so you can take that whole folder and just trash the contents of it. Keep in mind, if you ever need to get one of those apps back, even if it's something you paid for, anytime you download an app, you're downloading a license to use it. Yes, you're getting the app itself, but it's a license that allows you to get it. So if you ever had a problem, if you ever deleted it and oops, need to go back and get it, you can just go back into the App Store and now it's free because iTunes knows you have a license already that has been paid for. Next, a little tip I want to give you. This won't affect everyone, but as you own a Mac for years and years, some people start to acquire old dummy accounts on their computer. Sometimes these can be set up by techs who are kind of testing something and they just forget to get around to deleting it. So what you can do is go into System Preferences on your Mac, go here into Users and Groups, and just make sure there's no old users here, okay, that aren't needed anymore. If you don't need them, you have to click this little lock icon, which will prompt you for your user password, and then you just click on the account that you want to remove. There's a little minus symbol below here. That's how you remove an old account. Next thing we're going to go over, let's see, actually we've kind of gone through almost the entire list here. Next thing is iTunes. We'll go into iTunes for this one. As you get music, another item here, you can start to get a lot of duplicates. There is a trick to actually removing those duplicates. Just go up here to where it says View in the top menu bar and look midway down. Show duplicate items. Boom. Now, one thing to be aware of, and here's an example. Look at this song here, Burning Bridges, great song by One Republic. There's two songs here. It sees them as a duplicate, but look at the time code. The time code is different. That's because in this case, one of these songs is the acoustic version. So as you go through and delete potentially some duplicate songs, make sure in fact that they are the same. And the easiest way to figure that out is just look at the time code. Even if it's off by a second or two, sometimes that can be a little bit of an indication that there's something going on there. Oh, I just thought of actually one extra thing I want to throw in here. See this bar up here, this little gray bar where we have name, artist, time, etc. This might look slightly different on your version. When you're going through duplicates in iTunes, make sure you delete the low quality version. And if you have two songs here, and we may very well, I actually don't know. Look at Gypsy right here. Okay, these two songs, one is in fact a duplicate. But the only way you're going to know about the quality is you have to pull up some other information. So what you're going to do is put your cursor up here in this gray space. Okay, it can be under name, it can be album, and you're going to secondary click. So laptop owners, for most of you out there, that means you're going to click with two fingers present on the trackpad. For those of you on an iMac, it might mean right-clicking. The guaranteed way to do this is hold the Control key and click. Okay, and you get all these are all the different ways that you can organize your data in iTunes. And so the one that we're going to look for, I actually already have it here, it's just kind of off to the side, is bit rate. So if I scroll over here, you'll see bitrate is right here. If you ever want to reorganize these, just grab the title and drag it and drop it over. Okay, so for example, ooh, look at this one right here. Now granted, this one here this is left over from the ringtone class that I taught. But look at this. This song is 256 kilobits per second. This one is 320. Higher the number, the clearer the audio. I try to keep all of my songs at around 320 if possible, but I use, pretty decent sound equipment. But if you see a low quality version and a high quality version, it's my advice that you kill the low quality version. And that, believe it or not, is it. See, if you just take a little bit of time, a little bit of TLC, you don't need any of those pieces of software that claim to clean your Mac. This is David A. Cox with PC Classes Online. Real quickly, before we go, a couple quick things. If you're watching this on YouTube, we very much greatly appreciate if you click that little like button. You can subscribe to our channel by clicking that little button you see on your screen right now. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you check out our website. PC Classes Online is a free public service. We have members in over 170 countries at this point. As of today's date, we have over 90,000 members worldwide. So that's all, everyone. Hope you learned a lot, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.